Hey everybody, it's Christian Buckley doing another MVP Buzz Chat, and I'm talking today with Sucheta. Hello,
Hi, Christian. How are you?
I'm doing well. And for folks that don't know you, I mean, you've been a long time MVP here now for like, whoa, 6 whole months. So for folks that don't know you, who are you, where are you, and what do you do?
Yes. And well, first of all, thank you for featuring me on your buzzing podcast, MVP BuzzChat. And hey, everyone, I am Sucheta Gawade. I am a Microsoft MVP in Azure and security. And within security, the technology area that I'm awarded in is Microsoft Intune. So I'm a dual MVP. And yes, I've been an MVP for 6 months now. I'm based in Ohio in the US, where it's currently snowing,
We're getting
but it's
close. It feels like snow here in Salt Lake, but it's still dry, but it's supposed to arrive tonight or tomorrow. So
oh, wow. So,
feeling your
um,
pain. Yes.
yeah, I know. Yeah, I know. The whole northern region, I think, is feeling the pain.
Yeah.
And for what I do, I manage an endpoint engineering team at a healthcare organization with hospitals across the country. And I specialize in modern management and enterprise mobility and security. My current focus area is device management. So I do desktop engineering by leveraging Microsoft Intune as well as Azure for the cloud. So those
Very
are
cool.
my areas. Yeah.
Well, I did, I don't know if you've been in the space, like I know that, Config Manager, that
Yes.
product, that was my brother-in-law. I mean, he left like a year and a half ago now, but, David James, if you know, DJam, who ran that,
Yep.
owned Config Manager for 15 years or whatever,
Yep. Heard
20
that
years.
name.
Yep. But anyway, well, it's a, hey, that's a space that when you think of like IT operations, that is like the core group there, and you're hitting both the areas of the Azure. So as services are moving to the cloud and doing all the security side and for all the local needs.
Yeah.
So that's a lot on your plate.
Yes, and I actually like being, having that dual focus because along with doing core device management, if I am doing Azure, then I really get to know how services interact with each other and how stuff works behind the scenes, which makes it more easy to do your day-to-day tasks, right? So yes, it is a lot on the plate, but I think I like it. I like it that
Well,
way.
still, when I think of like I've been in IT for 33 years now. It'll be 34 years later this year, um, and a lot of the folks that were in the traditionally like the desktop support. These were back pre-internet. Right at that period as the internet was starting up. They were running the cables, they were setting up the desktop machines, and they were putting in the telephone systems and kind of all those other things. And I saw how those roles just expanded
Yeah.
into the device management side, owning all of the like the core applications. So now we think of like Microsoft 365 and SharePoint and Exchange and kind of all of those. They actually ran the server versions of the various products to do all that,
Yeah.
all of the life cycle management, the code management systems as well. But yeah, and so I always tell people too, like when I have the opportunity to speak to students that are going into computer science and the engineering fields, and they say, well, where are the opportunities? One of the things I always mention is like the operations side, there's
Yes.
huge opportunities
Yes.
on the
And
services side or as a full-time employee, as a consultant.
right, exactly. And if someone wants to start in tech and if they start in a desktop support role, they really get to touch so many areas within infrastructure that it expands their skill set, that spectrum of knowledge. So it's great for someone to step into tech and still do a little lesser invasive job, but learn on the job. There's a huge opportunity for learning and growing. And then eventually they can grow into device management or even on the application side, and like you mentioned, M365 administration, and there's just so
Mhm.
much to explore within Azure itself.
Well, and to that point, one conversation I have with MVPs and regular people out there alike, because I do like technical marketing and in my consulting, I do a fractional CMO and channel development. But as far as content creation, so whether you're trying to become an MVP, you are an MVP, or just somebody that wants to do more and share with the community, a question I hear a lot is, like I'm running out of ideas of like what should I be writing about? And one of the places that I learned this 20 plus years ago is to talk to the support team and and work with them. And this, it's easy when you're on the product side, you're constantly talking with the product team or the support team, say, where are people struggling? What are they having
Yeah,
problems with? What are the
right.
issues that they're reporting?
Yes, because they know the real world situations, the
Mhm.
real problems that end users face on a day-to-day basis. And within an organization or an enterprise, what's most important is to cater to your end users, make them productive, enable them to do their job securely.
Right.
So, yes, what you mentioned, I think, makes the most sense because that's where you would find out the details and the real problems.
Well, we have so much more robust analytics that, again, 10, 15 years ago, we didn't have to know, like, where are people getting stuck? I mean, I love the fact that there are tools, there's technology out there so that you can have, let's say your intranet, which even sounds old fashioned now to talk about an intranet, but whatever, the workspaces that you're in, to even know that, like, Sucheta asked this question, she was on this page doing this task on that site and get data about that. So to have contextual information about
Yes.
when and where people are asking questions or having problems is so critical. That's why it's, if you've ever had anybody that's had a problem where you're in browser doing an application and the support techs will go through and they'll ask you what browser you're using, what version of the browser,
Yes.
what application were you in, what were you doing while there, to kind of work through each of those things. But that also then tells you, like, as a product guy, that tells me, and as a support person, I learned this. It's like we're seeing a rise in number of issues at this place on our
Point. Yeah.
site. We need to provide more training, more documentation, improve the functionality, whatever it is.
Yeah,
Um,
it's also about the usability or the UX, right? Which the product teams or the engineers get to know out of
right.
these situations. So yes,
But again, as a content person, even if you're not in the product team, if you want to know what to go and write about, that's why I tell people, is like, go and hang out in various forums like the Microsoft Tech community, and say what questions you're passionate about. I'll use this SharePoint as an example. You're passionate about SharePoint. Go see what are the questions people are asking. What are the problems, the recurring themes that you're seeing? AI can help you go through a lot of that information and pull out, hey, here's 5 ideas for topics that people are struggling with. Let's go answer those.
yes, yeah, that's so true.
What's your primary contribution type? Like, are you a writer, a video creator, or more of a speaker? What's your passion?
Yeah, good question. I contribute via a few different avenues, actually. So I prefer speaking because that's where I get to meet real people
Hmm.
who ask questions, and you can have those side conversations after you present because people are going to give you feedback. And again, like we were just talking a minute earlier, you get to know the real things that people are seeking out of your presentations or
Hmm.
out of the content, right? So speaking is really what I like to do for the most part. But apart from that, I also blog. I have been a little slow on blogging over the past few months, but I want to catch up back soon. I do video
I'm
content
having to open your
creation.
blog right now, so I'm going to see the frequency right
You should.
now. Is it
Yeah,
the tech caching?
techcaching.com.
Yep.
Yes.
So there it is. All right. When was your last post?
That was, I think, last year, sometime last year.
Yes, I won't bring it. It's last year. I won't mention the date, but yes.
Yes, but yes, I
Blogging is
am.
my primary, but it's my number one. That's why I always, but but mine's not at normal level. So do not judge like what's typical by my volume. So, but
Yes, I know because I've been doing so many speaking engagements. I got that sessionized badge the other day about being in
yep,
the top 3%. So that was the best part. That means
me
I'm
too.
really
We're
active
there.
speaking.
Yep.
But yeah, apart from blogging, I do video content creation. So like I participate in various community events, and I then either submit my videos or go on online and do live sessions for participants. I speak at user groups as well, or I do videos for the local user groups if I cannot make it in person. But then most of the other things that I do are a little different than what normally people would do. One of the things is the Microsoft Learn document contribution.
Yep.
So as a techie, I'm always on the lookout for technical content from Microsoft Learn. And as I read through documentation while I'm doing my job and while I'm looking for solutions, I find some logical corrections that need to be done or some errors. So I go to GitHub, I submit PRs, with the
Mhm.
necessary corrections, which eventually do get approved and merged,
Yep.
which is the best part. And then you can actually have your name on that article as a contributor. It's not
Yep.
your name, it's your GitHub account. But yes, I do a lot of that. I've actually done several in the past year. So that's one of the other things that I do. But yes, apart from that, I also go to the CCP program, give constructive product feedback, collaborate with the product groups. So yeah, I mean, we have so many avenues that we can contribute with, right? So yes, I think I do like to try as many avenues as possible, but I would still prefer sticking to speaking and maybe improving Microsoft Learn, because that's like a global platform where it is accessed by a global audience. So it is
Yeah.
crucial that that content is accurate and clear. So I find fulfillment in doing that.
Yep. No, that is it's a great point. And I've met some MVPs that don't blog, don't create videos, they don't speak at events. Like, what do you do? And they do the exact same thing. They're like answering questions in forums. They're helping improve some of the documentation. In fact, on a regular basis, I hear from members of both Microsoft employees and community people that are very involved with that, reaching out saying, "Hey, we're looking for some content and help with other content that go up in Microsoft Docs and the formal documentation." So it's I I would say that we used to talk about how a lot of the SharePoint community grew so fast and so strong because the documentation coming out of Microsoft was so poor,
Hmm.
and so we all needed to help each other,
Right.
and it grew very quickly. Over the last decade, Microsoft has done a great job at turning around on their documentation. They've
Yeah.
hired a lot of MVPs that have come in and become full-time employees that are helping with that process, but they've also open sourced it, and so
Yeah.
there are you'll see a lot of non-Microsoft experts in there in various documentation, like all over the place. Sometimes I'm surprised, like, hey, I know that person. I didn't like,
Yes.
you know.
Yeah, I
So
think making it open source for people to contribute and edit and make it even better was a great move. But like you mentioned, I do feel that off late, the documentation has been really comprehensive. It's more detailed. You really find documentation about almost anything that you're looking for.
right, and,
So
and it's
that,
available when stuff goes live. It
yes,
used to be like a new product is like, where's the documentation? Oh, we're still working on it. Like, no.
yeah,
If you
now
if
it's
you've ever done
available
like a
so
physical
quickly.
product, if you've been part of product, like you have to have the documentation day one of selling something, but it didn't used to be the case. So
Yeah, yeah. Now it's not like that. So that's really good.
yeah. Well, what was your path to becoming an MVP? I mean, did you know about the program? How'd you hear about it? How did you get referred in?
So now, like I mentioned earlier, as a techie, I was always on the lookout for technical content, right?
Hmm.
And apart from Microsoft documentation, I was always looking for credible articles or videos from other professionals in the industry. And through that exploration, I became aware of MVPs, whose blogs and videos I ran into. So yes, I knew about MVPs that way and eventually found about the MVP program. And I was also always intrigued by the community and basically how everything comes together to help you to grow and enhance your skill set.
Hmm.
So I used to contribute very occasionally, very infrequently back then. But my full-fledged contributions, they really took off after I appeared in a podcast by Gregor Suttie.
Yeah, I know Gregor.
Everyone in the
Yep.
community knows him. Now, during that episode, he asked me if I'd ever thought about becoming an MVP. And my response was, maybe in the future. But shortly after, I started contributing more, speaking engagements and making multiple other consistent contributions,
Hmm.
which kind of led me to submit my application. And then fast forward into a year, I was awarded MVP, which is that interesting story.
So and yeah, and so and you've been there long enough. So you're actually going to have to go through the renewal cycle this year too. So
Yes.
welcome. Yeah, I'll just apologize in advance for that experience. But
Yeah,
uh,
I mean, I think the hardest part there is to remember, recall everything that you've done, and then put all the details in there. That's, I mean, to me, rather than delivering sessions or creating content, this is the harder part. And maybe that's because, this is not so productive or fulfilling as you would find giving a session and then people applauding.
right. No,
But
it is.
eventually, when you're awarded or renewed, then,
Yeah.
that I think that makes perfect sense.
Well, so something that so I co-run a cohort of people that are interested in becoming MVPs. We do a monthly
Okay.
call, and one of the things that we always talk about. In fact, we just had our call yesterday. Um, so whenever this goes live, but the first or second Wednesday of each month. But one of the things that we talk about is it's starting to document and capture the various contributions, because that can be difficult to, like, you feel like I don't need to ring my own bell. Like, I did some stuff, I did it for the community.
Yeah.
Do I need to go and self promote this stuff? Like, yeah, you have to keep track of those things. And there's different ways of kind of cataloging and capturing that. So if you're anybody interested watching this, if you go to my blog at buckleyplanet.com, over in the tag cloud on the right side, there's the what did I call it? Like the monthly summary. If you click on monthly summary, that's what I do. Is every month I do a write up of everything, all of the events, all the webinars, all of the podcasts, the interviews, everything that was published is outlined there with the URL. And so while it looks like, and it's funny, I have a tag in my website called blatant self promotion. Uh, it's there to extend my brain of, like, here's everything that I did. 6 months later, I will have forgotten about most of that stuff. And to go
Yeah.
back and sometimes even at the end of the month, cataloging. I do it on the first day of the next new month, everything in the previous month is I have to go through my calendar because I will miss things like, oh yeah, I did that webinar with this
Yeah.
partner, or I interviewed this person. So I catalog everything so I don't forget it. Then I only have to go and add 12 months of entries into the renewal process and
Yeah.
update all that double entry. Ugh.
Yeah. But that's a good way to record it so that you don't miss out on the details, because you might remember something that you did, but if there was an inherent important aspect that you wanted to highlight, which you now forget, then it wouldn't be as useful. So
Right.
you should document. That's good.
Well, the other nice thing too is that if you are in a company where you have an external role, like I was an evangelist for software companies, and so almost all of that content, I would then go and add that into our CRM platform and tag it so that when a salesperson or a support person was talking to a customer, and they could see, oh, hey, there's the most recent, Christian Buckley wrote an article on this topic. You should take a look at this. And so it can be, it's an important part of your, marketing and support efforts as well. Again, if it's relevant to your role.
Right.
But
Makes sense.
well, so I want to ask you. So you've been an MVP long enough. I always like to ask the question. Is like, because I'm sure you've had people like come forward and talk to you now, like, hey, how did you become an MVP, and how could I become an MVP? What's your recommendations, your guidance to people that think that they're ready to go down that path?
So I think one of the most important things, which I thankfully quickly realized while I was doing my contributions is that you shouldn't be a generalist. You really have to be focused on at least one or two areas so that you can create content accordingly. Like for instance, in my case, when I started creating content, I created that based on what I was most curious about, genuinely interested in, and what I was working on. It did eventually get split into two different areas, but I think that's still okay. However, I tried not to get too general. You probably will see some of my videos are off topic. I speak about maybe DevOps,
Hmm.
which is a little off topic, but I still feel that for someone who really wants to work towards that award, they should have that focused area. Also interact with the community, collaborate with the community, because those are the people who you learn from, and you give back to the community. It's mutual. But then they can help you build your profile, or build your mentor you basically,
Hmm.
and then build your expertise into things so you can contribute accordingly further. And again, I always feel, and I know everyone in the community says this, that it's really, it shouldn't be like it's for the award. It's because you
Right.
want to give back, right? Because I have learned so much from the community, trying to do various things in my work job or work role, that I feel like I want to give back as well. I want to be of help to others who are probably trying to get into tech, or who are trying to, get into that MVP community. So yes, start with the community if you haven't, contribute authentically, and be focused. And maybe, and like I mentioned, give back with purpose. And then, really it's about taking that first step. I think, because then one thing leads to another. You really have to think through for what you intend to do in your technical career. And once you start going down the path of contributing, then you actually expand your skill set.
Hmm.
And that really helps you not just with getting the MVP award, but also with your career,
Yeah.
because you network with people, you actually become technically capable, and that helps you grow in your career and professionally. So I think that that's my advice to people.
I know that there's just to add to that, it's like, yeah, we're like, we do the things that we do as MVPs. I said the vast majority of MVPs, we do these things. We were doing them before we were an MVP. We're going to do them after we
Yes.
were MVP. It aligned, it fit in. We may have had to tweak how we're capturing and how we're tracking the various contributions, but we're doing them for those reasons. But there's an ROI to being active in the community, whether or not you become an MVP. There's
Yes.
value in networking and learning and sharing information, but making those connections is so essential, in especially in this new world where the reality is most people are hybrid these days, where there's the lowest number in decades of people going into a physical location. And like as an independent, I have clients and partners around the world, so all these different time zones, and so it's such a benefit to be involved in the community, to make the connections that can help me grow my consulting practice, to have friendships in different regions around the world, kind of all those things. There's benefits, including becoming an MVP could be one of those benefits. But
Yes.
for most people, it won't become a reality, but there's still benefits it's worth doing.
Yes. Yeah. Very well said. I think it still helps you build connections, talk to people, come out of your niche, or come out of your comfort zone, and expand into what you really want to become in your professional life. So regardless of whether or not you get the award, you still develop as a
Yep,
professional. Yeah.
agreed.
And I think becoming an MVP is like the byproduct of your commitment to the community,
It's the
right?
cherry
Or
on
your
top,
experience.
right?
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, Sucheta, really appreciate your time, and it's great to meet you. Hopefully, hey, maybe I'll see you in Redmond in a couple months for the MVP summit.
Yes, absolutely.
I know that we're intermingling so much now at the. I know it's going to be your first one, but it used to be that they would segregate us. That like the SharePoint people would be over here, the Azure people would be over here. But now it's like going to university. It's like, what courses do you want to go and take? And so you get to like you're going all over campus, going to different things depending on what your interests are. And so there are people that I've known for 15 years, that I saw at the airport on the going home. Like, I didn't know you were even here because we were in different sessions the entire week. But anyway, look, it's a
Awesome.
great
Well,
experience. So
yeah, I look forward to that. And it is my very first MVP summit. So yes, I'm excited for that great mutual learning experience.
it's going to be great. Well, for folks that want to find you, connect with you, where are you most active on social? Where can people find you?
So LinkedIn is definitely the best place to reach me. I feel it is still a great platform for professional networking and collaboration. I hop on X, very occasionally,
Mhm.
so maybe not there. And I just started exploring Blue Sky because everyone is moving ahead there. However, LinkedIn definitely is where I'm most active, so feel free to connect with me there.
Excellent. Well, we've got all the links. We'll have it in the blog posted on YouTube. And Sucheta, hopefully we'll see you in Redmond. See you later.
Yes. All right, Christian, thank you so much.